Scandalous. I'm talking absolutely astoundingly audacious. The love of Jesus is absurdly reckless. The gospel of grace, it pushes limits. It breaks down walls that religion has constructed. Because when Jesus lived on this earth, he was everything but safe or contained. He stepped outside of normalcy. He was truly scandalous. Because you never saw him content living behind the safety of a religious bubble. Instead, he flipped over the religious people's tables, destroyed their contrived self-righteousness, and they didn't understand him. They can never comprehend why a man claiming to be God would ever spend his precious time with dirty, disreputable sinners. I wonder, when was the last time you or I have eaten a meal with a sinner? Think of your closest friends. Are any of them a little rough around the edges? Because when Jesus walked this planet, he hung out with people that the religious would scoff at. A friend of sinners he was called, and a friend he was. Jesus was a friend of fishermen, choosing to hang out with the working man, the men with no education or qualification to ever serve him, yet they were to become fishers of men. Jesus was a friend of Samaritans, and even furthermore, he was a friend of women. He did what no one else was willing to do. He absolutely shattered social and racial boundaries, choosing to set aside the normalcy of racism and sexism for the sake of showing someone you are not scum. You are actually worthy. Jesus had no regard for someone's race or reputation because he saw that their value was more than just the color of their skin. Jesus was a friend of the sick, choosing to heal and mend the outcast. Making medicine from his spit, he literally touched their sickness to show them they can be made well again. Jesus was a friend to the lame and paralyzed, doing for them what they couldn't do for themselves, literally giving them an upright view of the world, and they would run and leap in response to God's radical love. Jesus was a friend of the poor. Poverty and social standing did not intimidate him. With no regard to what the rich would think of him, he gave the poor when no one else was willing to give. True riches in him. Jesus was a friend of the adulteress, the prostitute, the modern-day whore. That may seem a little bit bold, I'm sure, but Jesus removed all traces of shame from women who were abused, used, paid for their bodies. He healed their brokenness and gave their life a whole different meaning. Jesus was a friend of tax collectors, crooks, liars. Zacchaeus, short in stature, who just by having dinner with Jesus the Master overflowed with generosity as his heart overflowed with God's mercy. Jesus was a friend of the hopeless. Even when Lazarus was without breath in his lungs, Jesus breathed life into his body, resurrecting his being and his hope, laughing in the face of death's reign. Jesus was a friend of murderers and thieves, allowing Barabbas to walk completely free even though he didn't deserve it. Jesus was a friend of the sinner, the one who could never have it all together, the one who was without hope in this world. Jesus came not for the healthy, but for the sick. You see, when we were utterly helpless, powerless, without hope to save ourselves, God died for us. Even when we never loved him, he loved us anyway, because Jesus knew that true love is laying down your life for your friends. Even a friend who would betray you like Judas. Even a friend who would reject you like Peter. Even a friend who would doubt you like Thomas. Jesus was a friend to me. Jesus was a friend to you. Even when we didn't deserve for him to even give us an ounce of his affection, he poured out everything in him. He bore the sin of the world on a tree, becoming a curse, so we could receive blessing. He was rejected by his own Father for a split second so we could be reconciled to him and made righteous. He gave up everything in him for us. We must understand, church. Jesus' love was a scandalous love. He laid down everything for people who don't deserve it, who purposely slandered him, who rejected him, who spit in his face. Are we willing to do the same? To disregard all opinions, all social normalcy, all cultural and political persuasions, to love with a love so radical it could only be labeled scandalous.